Hello and welcome back to another Let's Draw by me, Blut084, BLUT084. And again, if you have not seen Avengers Endgame, there's going to be spoilers in this video. Today we're going to be continuing on where we left off with the sketch. If you didn't check that sketch out, guys, what I would do is I would definitely pause this video there and go back to the other video. But again, there will be spoilers on that video. The whole of this, Iron Man series is going to be highly spoilered if you haven't seen the film yet. But if you haven't seen the film yet, why the hell not? Because oh my God, guys, it is absolutely amazing. I want to watch it again, but I just haven't had the time to go around and actually getting it and watching it again. I watched it with my son, and we have been watching the one. Well, he hasn't so much, but I've made him catch up all the way to the point where we are now, to the whole of the thread of 10 years with one focal point in it. And again, guys, if you haven't seen the end, we are going to seen the end of the film or seen the film, you won't have this, you won't really get this reference to what this picture is. But if you have, you will know. Let me know in the comment section what your reviews and what your thoughts are as we are now live, guys. You can leave a comment in the comment section by saying hi in the comments, or instead just listen along if you're watching backward or back, because in a moment we will be having a review by Kevin Smith. If you guys know who that is the guy who also plays Silent Bob, and he's coming out with a new movie soon, and I'll be bringing some of that goodness to this channel, as I do like Silent Bob and Jay and Silent Bob, because they're going to be making another movie. But off subject, he is going to be giving a review because he gives a very emotional review, and I think it's worth listening to. I think we'll also give you a viewing in the comment section down below. If you want to know where I actually get it so you can see it for yourself, then I should hopefully be able to post it either in a moment or at the end of the video, or after it gets into its processing video parts. Again, if you're watching back, don't forget to hit subscribe. My name is Blut084 Art and Games. I'm here every single day on YouTube, occasionally on Mixer, that's mixer.com, where I also live get game streams, and also over on Instagram, where I'm there every day and night if you want a daily chat or just keep up with what's getting up to. But the best way to get knowing what's going on in my channel, guys, is to hit that subscribe, and by next to it is the bell. And if you really do like this video, give it a like.
Welcome to Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith. Normally I do this with Mark Bernardin, but I got to see Avengers without Mark Bernardin, man. They gave me a ticket, me plus a guest, and I took my kid. It was a real Sophie's choice. Jason Mewes was crying about it. Mark Bernardin a little upset. Ralph Garman didn't say anything, but I'm sure inside seething full of hatred.
So you know who Kevin Smith is. There we're going to be listening to a bit of Kevin Smith, who's going to be giving the review. Again, there's going to be spoilers, guys, so you have been warned, and there will be mild swearing in this video as well, guys. I generally try and keep it down on the drawing videos, but if you know me from gaming, there's a lot of swearing there. But Kevin Smith, he doesn't care, and he really doesn't pull punch. So yeah, there will be a mild swearing in this, as well as maybe definitely something to do with Jay and Silent Bob, if you know what I mean. Yeah, what you've got today, we've got the sketch done. I'm just going to quickly show you what I did, because yesterday I took the sketch and I added a few more bits to it. I wanted to just change it up a little bit, because my son said to me that Tony's face was a little bit too chunky, so I thinned him out a little bit on the cheek area here, and same here. Kept the beard, but I felt the beard was a bit too furry, so I thinned that out as well. Kept the mustache and the little goatee beard. I tried to refine the eyes a little bit, but the more I made them smaller, the worse they looked. So I kept them the same similar size, but I refined them, put a few more lines up and around. More age lines. There we go, guys. A few more age lines around the eyes here. I put a lot more shading, as you can see here. I did a lot of shading with one of my other fine line pens, not this one here. This one is my mechanical pencil. It's very good for fine lining, as you can see in here. If you know what these lines are, guys, again, let me know in the comment section. And not so much win, because we have got winning prizes in the last video. More information in that one for the giveaways and prizes. But the lines, that pen is very good for the lines where you use, say, more of a HB fat, nice, chunky pen or pencil, sorry, to give a good bit of shading. Well, again, we're going to be using shading similar methods, but with an ink pen today. It is going to be a lengthy video. That is why we've got Kevin Smith to be talking in the background, because once I start drawing, guys, I tend to not talk too much. So when I start, this is the pen I'll be using. So watch what I'm doing, and if you're watching live, you can ask me for hints and tips and questions and things like that while I'm live. But if you're watching back, again, I don't mind a request or something in the bottom there for another video or something like that. This one here, again with the gauntlet. Again, big spoilers, guys. He does get a gauntlet. There's a gauntlet in the film. The snap, well, I'll leave that up to you guys, what you thought of that. Because that moment is quite literally the end game. Yeah, it was an emotional moment. But what really got me was his daughter liking cheeseburgers. Holy Majoni, guys. Tears were coming down my face when this moment happened. When the whole end to end, because again, I have been watching it, and my son have been watching it up from the very beginning. I was there when the first one dropped after the Spider-Man film, because I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Which we'll be doing probably next week, I think. Again, something from Infinity War. You know which one I'm talking about, guys, and you know which pose I'll be doing. If you want to keep joining in, again, come over to Instagram, because I post daily what I'm getting up to. This is what I've been getting up to. I'm going to be getting on and carrying on, so you can enjoy some more Kevin Smith as I use my sketch or Sharpie. This will be the fatter lines. You will see what I mean later on in the video. This is going to be the fine lines to get the good lines and good detailing in here. And we will also be using a few colors from this to give a little bit of depth. But we will be giving the coloring tomorrow, the full coloring and inking. And then we will be going over to the digitization video over later on in the week. That'll be Thursday. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow on Wednesday, because we will be coloring this one in. But for now, let's get inking and refine those lines.
But I took my kid to see Iron Man back in the day, finished the Marvel saga, the Infinity Saga, if you will, together by going to see Avengers, Endgame last night at the premiere. So that's what we're going to talk about. This is not a review. I'm not qualified to give reviews and stuff. Everyone always says, "Oh, he fucking likes everything." It's not true. You don't hear about the things I don't like. See how that works? You'll hear about the things I like all the live long day. And I like a lot of things, man. Some people are like, he's not fucking picky or choosy. Obviously not. Have you seen my fucking movies? When it comes to other people's movies, I'm even less picky and fucking choosy. That's when I resort to being a fan. Long before I was a filmmaker, I was a film fan. Love movies and stuff. So any movie that can make me feel like I felt long before I picked up a camera myself and became a filmmaker or tried, that's worth it to me. That's great filmmaking, man. Movies are supposed to, they're escapism, take you someplace. Journey to a wild place you never could before, with some trace elements of humanity and story that we could understand. But like, take me somewhere wonderful. That's what the movies are about. Those Marvel movies do that. That's why I fucking suck their dicks so hard. They're fucking good, man. They're great in most cases.
Again,
and they're
swearing
like time machines for somebody like me. I'm fucking 48, man. Some good times are behind me, and all that lies ahead is fucking death and the Red Skull floating around going, "You want the stone? Kill somebody." So like, I look for something that makes me feel young at heart, that makes me feel happy, that gives me that same fucking feeling I had when I sat next to my father and watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he would be like, "I love this movie because it reminds me of the."
Just quickly stop once more time, guys. You can see now already that the ink is showing out a hell of a lot more better, and that's why you use ink. Well, for one, it does permanentlize your artwork, but gives it a good pop out as well, because then you can add a load more shading with either a pencil or if you've got Copic markers, which I got a few. They are running out, so I can't use that many. But yeah, Copic markers and things. I will be using pencils as well as felt tips as well as Copic markers in tomorrow's video, as I will normally do, but that's not what I'm saying. We're using ink, and we're going to be, again, doing the whole of this picture in this one fine line, and then possibly going back over with this one. If I don't have the full video and I don't have full time to do it again, guys, I will post it over on Instagram, and then you can come back tomorrow to see what I've done, same as you did yesterday, and come back today. So thank you very much, and I will continue.
Movies that I used to see when I was a kid, the cliffhangers, man. That's a germ that's passed on generation to generation. My old man loved the movies. He passed that on to me. Passed it on to my kid as well. So as I sit there with my kid watching these movies, I'm like, I love these movies because they remind me of the movies I saw when I was a kid, the Star Wars movies and stuff. And she's like, they still make those Star Wars movies. I'm like, oh, you're right. But that's where I fell in love with those kinds of big movies. And I never thought one day I'll make a movie and shit. I was happy to be an audience member and stuff. Then indie film happened, and suddenly I got to play. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Avengers Endgame. Fuck, this is a movie. This is so much fucking movie. Ain't never been a movie like this before, man. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. In terms of like a build-up to a final conclusion, I've said this about other movies before. This one is about the absolute closest you get to a live-action comic book. This movie felt like an annual, like a giant-sized annual, or a big multi-part crossover, standalone event, bookshelf format or Baxter format from back in the day, prestige format, man. It was just epic. They had a high bar to clear. Not only did they clear the bar by a couple thousand miles high, they stuck the landing in the most impressive superhero landing of all fucking time. We're going to get into it. I'm going to tell you about it. This ain't a review. This is, I mean, I'm just going to tell you the story as I remember it. That's how I do my shit. I don't review. I'm not like, but the filmmakers were going for it. Fuck that. I don't know what the filmmakers going for, other than they wanted me to be enthralled, fucking shocked, happy, sad. They wanted me to laugh. They wanted me to cry, and they fucking did it. They did all that in the span of 3 hours, over and over and over again, man. You know what? I've been a director 25 years. I'm just coming around to this thinking it might be a two-person job. You know, the Russo brothers crushed it. Took two fucking guys to make a movie this fucking big. A movie so big, it had two directors. And man, they did a phenomenal fucking job. They cut their teeth in the world of television, like, you know, Arrested Development and whatnot, and then gave us some of the greatest motion picture epics of all time. That's not just hype, kids. That's not just me like, oh, he fucking blows everything Marvel. That'll stand up in a fucking court of law, man. You ain't seen anything like, and there ain't ever been anything like Avengers Endgame, man. It's crazy. Let's get into it. Before we do, spoilers. Big time fucking spoilers, man. I'm not doing this to ruin the movie for you, so if you ain't seen the movie yet, fuck off. You know, you're not supposed to say that, you know, to your audience, but I'm telling you, I am going to go deep what I recall.
Yeah, you're in warning. You have been warned. You have been warned, guys.
Nothing
there you go.
Talking about the shit that I want to fucking like blow and shit. So get out while the getting's good and come back after you've seen it yourself and whatnot. I'll wait. Bullshit, I can't wait. You leave, put it on pause or whatever the fuck, because some people who have seen it already, we want to talk about it. So here we go.
Oh, yes.
Before I go further, a little house cleaning. Me and Ralph Garman coming over to Ireland and England and Scotland to do Hollywood Babylon. Tickets at csmod.com. That's coming up, man. May 9th, we're going to be over there. May 9th, I think, to the 16th or something like that. So come hang out with me and Ralph. Going to be making jokes, having a great fucking time, man. Tickets at csmod.com. Okay, here we go. Avengers Endgame. I went to the premiere, full disclosure, as a guest of Chris Hemsworth. So naturally, you know, take this review with a grain of salt. But you were going to get the same review whether Thor brought me or whether Hawkeye brought me or whether nobody brought me and I just paid my 2 bits to see it in the theater. Avengers Endgame, what a weird place to open a movie, right? Half the world's been snapped. The heroes have fucking lost. Kind of like in an Empire Strikes Back kind of place. But they did not return this Jedi. Holy shit. They went far above and beyond that. Although in the end credits, there is another star movie that's kind of not nodded to, but like here in the end credits when they do the core 6 members of the Avengers, they have their signatures as well. So it's Chris Evans, it's Captain America. But then you see Chris Evans' signature, and I remember they did that in the last Star Trek movie that the old cast was going to be in. They all signed their names, and their names went off into the stars. So, Kevin Feige, who is the fucking brilliant genius behind all this and deserves all the fucking credit for a 10-year vision, 22 fucking films of like, no, this could be cool. We could build up to fucking Thanos, man, and like this gigantic fuck off movie where every one of our fucking characters, all the IP, came in together and whatnot. Just the same way you do in a comic when you're reading like, an annual or something like that, or when they do the big crossover event annually, hence annual. So our movie opens in a world where half of everyone's fucking dead. And it happens, I guess, based on Tony's lost in space with Nebula. And he mentions an amount of days. Again, it was a lot to take in. So much movie, and that's not a complaint. It's amazing. I can't wait to see it again so I can like break it down and ingest it. This was just pure enjoyment from end to end. So if I remember correctly, Tony and Nebula lost in space based, following the events of Infinity War. And he said how long he was out there and how shit's running out. We heard it in the trailer, right? Where he's just like, fucking, when I go to sleep, I'm going to be thinking of you when he's recording the video for Pepper Potts into his helmet and shit. So meanwhile, back on Earth, the Avengers and everybody else kind of dealing with the fact that like he did it. Oh my God, it is unbelievable. And so Tony lost up in space, and then he's going down for the count, and then all of a sudden there's a bright light, and you're like, who is it? And how do you not know who it is? It's Captain fucking Marvel, who just showed up like a couple months ago. So Captain Marvel, spoilers, and again, all spoilers, rescues Tony Stark and Nebula, brings their ship single-handedly back to Earth. I guess that's after the events in Captain Marvel's postscript. They, showed her going, where's Fury? So I guess what had happened was she talked to them. They were like, first go get Tony Stark. So she goes off to space, rescues Tony Stark, brings him to Earth. Tony Stark, shitty and pissed, like fucking not having it, like mad at Captain America, like he called him a traitor or something like that. Was real fucking, had a mean on. It was pretty harsh. And wants nothing to do with these fools. Meanwhile, Captain Marvel's just like, fuck it, let's go kill Thanos. And the Avengers was like, oh, it's that simple. And she's like, yeah, we'll find him, we'll fucking kill him, or we'll make it pay. And they're like, hey man, he's got the stones, let's just get the stones and do what he did, unsnap everybody and stuff. And then all of a sudden, somebody's like, here's a signature, his signature. When he used the stones the first time, it was an unbelievable release of energy that happened. It's happened again, on this world, the energy signature from this world. So they know where to fucking find him. And also Nebula knows where to find him. Because Nebula said, like, he always talked about when his work was done, he would go to the garden. So they're going to go to the fucking planet where we saw Thanos at the end of Infinity War and fucking confronts him. What I forgot to say was the opening of the movie, Hawkeye training his daughter how to fire a bow and arrow, how to pull back and bang. And he goes, pull the arrow, and she's a good shot. He goes, pull the arrow out, and he's on a family picnic in his backyard. Family that we met in Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. And then, boom, they turn to dust, and he's left by himself and shit. So that's like kind of the cold opening of the movie before like the fucking Marvel card and shit. So heroes are like, fuck it, man. We know where he is. Let's go to space. And everybody jumps into Rocket's ship, Rocket Raccoon, and off they go. Except Hawkeye, he's not with them. We'll find him later on. He went nuts, as one would. So he became Roman, motherfucker. So they all go up to fucking space to confront Thanos on his planet. They do the jumps, just like they did in Guardians. They get to the planet. Thanos is all fucked up. It's all burned and shit like that. His arm is all scarred and withered, and like from burnt. The arm that had the glove on it, the Infinity Gauntlet. And so they go for like all of a sudden he's sitting there and bam, fucking Captain Marvel comes shooting in and just fucking knocks him on his ass. Everything you want. In the first, 10 minutes of the movie, 15 minutes of the movie, they go to fucking kill Thanos. And Thanos reveals that he used the stones to destroy the stones. So the stones don't exist anymore. So they can't unsnap. So fuck you. I did that so that nobody can undo what needed to be done. And, I think it's Nebula's talking to him at one point. And he starts talking back to her. He's like, see, daughter, you blah, blah, blah. And then out of fucking nowhere, schwap, fucking Thor cuts Thanos' head off right there. First 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And you're like, what the fuck are we going to do for the rest of the movie, man? They killed Thanos already. And it was so fucking satisfying. I screamed out loud a lot throughout this movie. People sat in front of me, kept turning around looking at me. It was mostly a cast and crew screening. All the Avengers were in attendance and shit. It was kind of surreal. But I spent most of my time literally on the edge of my seat and screaming when things happened. And no, and yes, and yeah, over and over again. That's what this movie will do to you. Bring tissues, man, because you're going to spill a lot of bodily fluids. Not just like tears, lots of tears, but also like, I can't believe they did that. I'll tell you what those moments are, man. Again, this is a spoilery review. So, Thanos fucking killed by Thor right then and there, man. And the whole world is fucking hopeless because there's no Infinity Stones. And that's it. That's your opening of the movie. And then they cut to 5 years later. So we've lived for 5 years in the Marvel Universe with all the people, half the people being gone, world being weird and stuff. Cap running a survivor group, like kind of a PTSD group that we saw him in Captain America Civil War. And the Russo brothers, or at least one of them, is in that scene. It's pretty cool. So, Cap talking about the things you hear in the trailer about people moving on and they find it hard to move on. So you start seeing life after the snap. And the Avengers are still together as a team and still fighting missions. One thing you keep hearing about is like somebody slaughtering whole gang communities and whatnot. And, you start piecing them together. You're like, that's the Ronin son. That's Hawkeye. All these movies, everyone's going like, Hawkeye, what a jerk. Hawkeye, fucking. And they turn him into, the fucking Man of Steel in this movie. They redeem Hawkeye. Everybody gets a moment in this movie. Some get more moments than others, but everybody gets to play. This is incredible storytelling, incredible fan service, perhaps the best fan service ever fucking provided and stuff. And still all holds together as an entertainment that if you've never seen any of the other movies, you would still enjoy the shit out of this. It still works. There's lots of references to stuff that happened before, but they're not enough where you're like, what? Well, I mean, number one, I know all the movies. But even if you didn't know the movies, they kind of explain shit along the way. So, time has gone by and nothing has improved. And people are sad and they miss their loved ones. And in a storage facility, I guess in San Francisco, there's a big van that we recognize from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and a rat. This is a little convenient. I'm sure Mark Bernard will have something to say about it. I was totally okay with it. A rat runs across the controls. That snaps on the controls, which turns on the quantum tunnel, and boom, Scott Lang comes out of the quantum realm, into the storage facility. He gets out and he starts looking at the world around him, and it's completely different. And he goes home, and this is some really touching, fucking heartbreaking shit. There's a lot of moments in this movie that make you cry. He knocks on the door, and his daughter answers, and he's been gone for 5 years. So the little girl that we met in Ant-Man and the Wasp is now a 17-year-old teenager. And, Paul Rudd never ages anyway. So he shows up at the door looking the exact same, even though it's 5 years in the future. Really poignant and fucking bittersweet, man. He's like, what happened? He has no idea. So he apparently gets filled in, and then he shows up. Remember in the trailer, they're like, hey, man, it's me, Scott Lang, Ant-Man. We met in Europe. He shows up at Avengers Mansion when, the Avengers have kind of fallen into this, yeah, we protect the world, what's left of it, shit, doldrums. And, there's been no avenging of the snap or anything like that. That's it. It's just kind of what's to do. The towel's been thrown in. So Scott Lang shows up at Avengers Mansion, at the Avengers facility upstate New York, and starts telling Captain America and Black Widow, I was in the quantum realm. And, it's a place, he explains it, real shit goes down. And he's like, and then, I got out and bam. But it's just 5 years later. And he's like, but that's just it. He's like, to me, it was like a day or something like that. Time moves differently in the quantum realm. So he's like, maybe that's the key to all this. So right away, everything we'd heard about in the rumor mills, like, I think this one's going to be about time travel. They go all the fuck in on time travel, and it's a delight. They reference their cinematic forebears, a lot of Back to the Future jokes and stuff like that. But the idea is, what if we could use the quantum realm? What if we could go back in time somehow to the moments before the stone? Like, what if we stole the stones before Thanos ever could, so that he could have never collected them? So it becomes a time heist movie, and they literally say that in the movie a couple thousand times. Time heist, it's a time heist. So they break meanwhile, at the same time, Tony, the Avengers go see him, and with Scott Lang, and he's like, I'm out of this. Like, if you came to talk about avenging, because he's got a daughter, Morgan. Him and Pepper Potts have a kid. He lives in like this house up in the country and shit in the woods by a lake. And he's living just his normal life, having a kid. And he's just, the snap was devastating, but like, he lived, Pepper lived, and they got a kid. So shit wasn't that bad for him. Like, yeah, they lost a lot of friends. But then, of course, like, after the Avengers come visit, he sees the picture of Peter Parker, and like, it eats at him that he lost the kid, remember? Because he didn't want to bring a kid into this and stuff. So that's gnawing at the back of his head. Cap's like, come back, and he's like, no way. If you came for that, if you want to stay for dinner, no business. We can just chit chat and shit. But like, I'm out of this. But meanwhile, Tony has been working on time travel. And in a really cute scene, he just comes upstairs to like talk to Pepper. He's like, well, I did it. She's like, good what? He's like, I figured out time travel, and she's like, what? And so the idea is like, do we do something about it? And, she's going like, look, everything worked out for us. And there's a chance that if you go back, maybe that doesn't happen. And Tony says that as well. But like, that's what a hero does. So they set the table really well, because they're like, Tony Stark never has to go into that world again, and he'll be happy until the day he dies. He's got this adorable little daughter, Morgan, who he fucking loves. He's with Pepper. Like, the snap is a distant memory and stuff. He's happy, he's content. That's not what a hero is allowed to be. So the Avengers come in, you can see his wheels turning and whatnot, and that's when he tells Pepper, and then there's a moment of like, well, you got to do what you got to do kind of thing, speech. So he goes back to the Avengers facility. They all gather. Meanwhile, we've gone to see Hulk, and Hulk is like Hulk from the comics in the 90s when Peter David made him the Smart Hulk. So he looks like the Hulk, but he thinks and speaks like Bruce Banner. So that was real great for like an 80s, 90s comics kid to like see Smart Hulk up there. Like, oh my God. And it's cool because you can see it's more Ruffalo than it's ever been before, and he's talking, and it's not just like Hulk smash, and he was like, look, I was always fighting the Hulk, like he was some sort of virus that had to get out of me. But what if he was just, this is what I was meant to be? He was the evolution. So he's constantly in Hulk form at this point, except one scene in the movie during the journey when Cap breaks everybody up into teams. You're going to go here, you're going to go here, you're going to go here, because they got to chase the Infinity Stones down in time, and most of that time is the time that we've spent seeing the Marvel Universe movies. So it's this double joy of we're like, oh my God, they're doing their greatest hits, man. They're doing a victory lap. And it's not even like we're jumping to moments in time that you never saw. They're going to jump into moments that we know, and weird moments too. Like obviously moments from the first Avengers movie, but then moments from like Thor, the Dark World. Like this movie goes out of its way to be like, fuck you. You're going to watch Thor 2 again. Like they're going to make you do it, man. So many plot elements about Endgame are tied directly into the one Thor movie that everyone's like, meh. So I don't know. It kind of redeems that movie in many ways. Not like it was a bad movie, but it makes you go like, oh shit, I better revisit Thor Dark World. And that's what I'm going to do tonight. So it's working. So they're starting to pull the team together. They got the Hulk. They got Tony comes back. They got Nebula on their side and Rocket. And they've got Cap. Oh, Thor. Fuck. Thor is probably the ballsiest decision they made in the movie. Because Thor got thick with 2 C's. So what happened is after the events, like they showed, at one point when Captain Marvel came to Earth and rescue Tony. There's a shot of Thor like sitting there real angry in the fucking trailer and shit. You know, she says, "What's with him?" And they're like, he's kind of PTSD, man. He fucking killed, like he should have went for the fucking head. He could have killed Thanos, but he didn't, and all this shit happened. So he's fucking super mad at shit. So then we saw Thor kill Thanos in the first like 15, 20 minutes. So then we come back to Thor. He's living with Korg in New Asgard. So we see Valkyrie and all the rest of the surviving Asgardians have moved to this town called New Asgard, where Thor is kind of like Thor's the king. And so it's like this fishing village, like a fjord, if you will. And Thor spends most of his time drinking beer and playing Fortnite with Korg and Meek from Thor Ragnarok. So Taika Waititi's in the movie, and he was great. And I saw him on the red carpet. I wanted to give him a hug, but he's doing an interview. I don't even know him, but I just wanted to hug him because I love Thor Ragnarok. So Thor gets like heavy, like he went to pot. He doesn't look like a god of thunder anymore. He looks like me with my fucking show, and heavier than me and shit. Like a strong man gone to seed. And they keep him that way the whole fucking movie. It's glorious. Like, this is it for the Avengers. And his last go around, he's literally heavy set and schlubby. The only thing like weirder they could have done is that they turned him into a fucking frog. Like at one point they, did in the comics or something like that. Or Beta Ray Bill replaced him. It's crazy. And like it works. It absolutely works, man. And because the whole movie services every Marvel movie, all the 22, and that services Thor Ragnarok. Like, they've kind of went in a lighter direction, and so they kept leaning into that direction with Thor, who, like, in one of the ballsiest moves in Endgame, stays fat the whole fucking movie. It's crazy. Even, like, when it comes to the final stand and shit like that. And they make it work for him. He's suffering from PTSD. He's fucking, like, doesn't want to go out, doesn't want to do anything but fucking drink and shit like that. So they have to drag him back into the fight, when they're like, we have a chance to fix this. We can go back, and if we get the stones, we can unsnap. We can bring them all fucking back and stuff. So he's suffering from PTSD and not the Thor we kind of remembered and whatnot. He looks more like the dude. He's dressed like Lebowski the whole movie. He's got like fucking 2 layers, just sweatpants Thor. It's pretty genius. And Chris Hemsworth is, and I'm not just saying this because the guy invited me to the premiere, and he's in Jane Silent Bob Reboot. What up? He's legit fucking hysterical in the movie doing this. And he brings real poignancy to it as well. Because as each team drops through the time hole and goes streaming through the quantum realm into these very specific moments in Marvel history, things happen, things go wrong, things go right, and stuff like that. So they've got to do shit like, okay, the stone was in New York. 2 stones were, in New York around this time, and it's the time of Avengers. So the, Tesseract they've got to get, and they've got to steal it from themselves. So you get to see what happened in Avengers after they caught Loki, where Loki's like, I think I'll take that drink now. So they lead you down the tower. They brought in Robert Redford's character, from Civil War, was it? Yes. Franklin Pierce, and they brought in Joe Grillo, who played Crossbones, who played Rumlow, because we're jumping through time. So our heroes have the benefit of knowing, like, what happens in the Marvel universe. So, when they jump back at one point to the post-arrest of Loki, like, Rumlow is in there in the elevator. Like, Cap winds up back in an elevator surrounded by a bunch of tough guys who all have the staff, Loki's scepter. And so Cap's job is to steal the staff because that's got the Tesseract, that's got the stone in it and stuff. So he gets into the elevator and you're like, oh shit, man, it's going to be a repeat of the Captain America Winter Soldier scene where he fucks everybody up in the elevator. And, you're like, that's awesome because it's the Russo brothers and they made that movie as well. And then he don't fight anybody in the elevator, even though he's sitting there and he's like, Rumlow. And he knows that, like, in the future, like, he knows everyone in this elevator is a fucking Hydra agent because he's lived through the movies. But where they jump in the movies, nobody knows this yet, except the people who are Hydra agents. So in a really bit of clever writing, there's not a fuck ton of fighting in this movie. It's not a fighty movie, although by the end, fuck yeah. But like a lot of things are more clever and shit like that. So Cap gets out the elevator. He simply goes like, they want me to take this. And they're like, I don't know, Cap. We had very specific orders. And then he goes, I have it now. And then he goes, Hail Hydra. So Captain America's saying Hail Hydra. And they all go, everyone in the elevator reacts like, holy shit, he's one of us too? And he just walks out with the scepter. They have fan service moments like that, paying off setups from like 3-5 movies back and shit. One from they pay off or a callback from the first Iron Man movie, man. That's the penultimate moment in this fucking play. So Cap's mission at one point is like they get the Tesseract, but the Tesseract gets away because like Ant-Man, Tony Stark from the present and Ant-Man are teamed up, and he flicks Ant-Man onto Tony Stark from the end of Avengers. He goes in when Tony's got the heart thing and pulls a plug and stuff, so Tony has a fake heart attack and whatnot, so they can try to steal the Tesseract away, but then Loki steals the Tesseract and fucks off. So then you're like, what? They're like, we got to go back further in fucking time in order to do this shit. So they do another jump, and at one point, Tony Stark, like they got to jump back in time because they only have a certain amount of Pym particles. I'm sorry, like I only saw it once, so I'm trying to remember and shit. I'm a stoner. They only have a certain amount of Pym particles to make the jumps. So they're like, maybe if we jump back in time to when Hank Pym invented the Pym particle, we can get more. So we're not worried about like one last jump and shit. So they jump back to S.H.I.E.L.D. in the 70s. And, at one point, Captain America sees Peggy Carter, like in an office from the other side of a window and shit like that. He tries to hide in an office, and there's a picture of him behind him on the desk, and he looks at the door, and it says Margaret Carter and shit. And then he sees her outside, and he's like longing. It's really beautiful shit like that. But he can't spoil it. He can't fucking ruin this mission. Obviously nobody's allowed to be in touch with their former selves or their past selves and shit. Meanwhile, Tony runs into his dad in a really fucking touching scene. They bring back John Slattery, who's played Howard Stark, in Iron Man 2 and in Civil War. And so Howard and Tony see each other at S.H.I.E.L.D. and like Tony winds up hanging out with his dad for a few minutes. And it's really sweet. They don't go schmaltzy, where Tony's just like, always loved your dad, and he's crying or anything like that. He's talking to his dad, and his dad is bringing home flowers to his wife because he just found out. I'm going to fucking cry. This movie's so amazing. He has found out that she's pregnant, and it's pregnant with Tony. So he's talking to his dad on the day that his dad's going to go home and celebrate with his wife that they're about to have this baby. So Tony Stark, the old Tony Stark, our Tony Stark, is able to talk to his dad and talk about being a father himself, which he is now. And he says, like, I used to think that my old man was hard on me. And now I just realized he was just always looking out for me. He's like, now that I'm a dad, I just get it. And that's as close to like a big, like, sprawling crescendo cue and tears in that moment. I love that they kept it real. It's so true to Tony Stark's character that he wouldn't be like, I love you, Dad, and shit. But they do let him fucking hug Howard. And it's hysterical because out of nowhere, this guy who was just walking with him to his car says, thank you. And he gives him this big hug and he goes, thank you. And then Howard looks at him and he goes, for your service to this country and shit like that. And he's like, oh, all right. And then something really mind-bending happens, and the movie's full of shit like this. It's just fan service, wonderful fan service. Marcus and McFeely, the fucking screenwriters, I don't know if they deserve the credit. They deserve so much credit. But I don't know who came up with this moment, but it's really nice. Howard Stark gets in the car, goes to get in the car, and his driver opens the door, and he goes, thank you, Jarvis. And you see fucking Jarvis, and you realize that's why Tony built the AI butler. I mean, those of us who know the comics knew that, Jarvis was the butler in Avengers Mansion. But in the world of the movies, like, it just started off in the first Iron Man with Jarvis being the house AI, and then it moved into the suit AI, and then Jarvis became Vision eventually, and then Vision gets killed and never comes back. Like, a lot of folks come back in this movie, some don't, and Vision's fucking one of them. That was really disturbing. So anyway, you've seen now the entire life of this character, and then you see the reason why, the origin. Like, why did Tony? Like, we always felt, oh, of course he called his AI Jarvis because Jarvis was the name of the butler in Avengers Mansion. But they, in the movie universe, they do this one thing. They just go one better by being like, that's who he grew up with. There was a Jarvis. Jarvis was his driver and his butler. So when young Tony grew up and built an AI, there's a whole story behind the story that they don't even fucking tell, which you just fill in the blanks. And you're like, one day Jarvis died, and fucking when Tony built the AI, he decided to name it after like one of his only friends in life, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just fucking fantastic fan service. Meanwhile, Thor has to go pull the ether from Thor Dark World from Jane Foster, Natalie Portman, who's been out of these movies for a red hot minute, and was like, I ain't doing these movies again. They got her to come back. Everybody comes back. She comes back, so we see her. So Thor's got to go to Asgard, which is still, you know, when he jumps back in time, there it is. Everybody's around, including his mom, Freya, who dies that day in the movie, in Thor the Dark World. So Thor jumps through time and sees his mom. He jumps through with Rocket. And he sees Freya, and he doesn't want to confront her and shit. But then he's skulking around the palace, and at one point she confronts him. And he's like, oh! And, you know, again, like, Chris gets to, like, be funny in the movie as, like, fat, schlubby Thor. And so, you know, she's like, you're my son, but you're not my son from this time, are you? And he's like, how did you know that? And he plays even better. I can't even do it. He was just like, he breaks down and crying. He's like, I am me. Like, but she's like, I was raised by witches. You don't think I could fucking tell? Little fan service shit like that. So he has this conversation with his mom, who he knows is going to die by the end of that day.
Well, I've done the first part of this now, and we are completed. I've now run out of time for what I've got left to do. But like I said, guys, if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. My name, again, is Blut084, BLUT084 Art and Games. If you would like to see the finalized picture, don't forget to tune in tomorrow, because I will be doing that live around about 1:00 p.m. Over here on GMT time, or Greenwich Mean Time. So don't forget to tune in there. Don't forget to ding the bell if you are new to the channel, because we will be continuing on listening to the rest of that review from Kevin Smith and getting the rest of the story, or rest of what he thinks of the film. I personally think it was absolutely amazing, and wish certain things hadn't happened in the film so you could have more of something else. But that's for tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow by hitting that subscribe and ding the bell. If you want to know what I'm getting up to, come on over to Instagram. Again, my name is Blut084, BLUT084. Like I said, we did the whole thing. We finalized it with pencil, using my sticker, the pencil there. Yesterday was the pencil video. Today is the inking video, or the inking video, and yesterday was the pencil video. So if you'd enjoyed it and you have learned anything, definitely let me know. Otherwise, go leave a like or come over to Instagram and I'll show you in more in depth. As tonight, I'll probably be continuing on using the Sharpie. I'm kind of happy with the way it has turned out. But like again, guys, I have run out of time. So I must go, and I'll see you next time. Click the links that will appear. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe. Bye for now.